The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 13th day of February, 2024. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamal Hartman, and Maya Palacio will be with you in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Well, it's the second day of the traditional work week. How's everybody doing? I just saw something. I mean, we obviously do days of the year later in the show, but I just saw something that was interesting. As you all know, tomorrow is that day that Cupid has or whatnot. And today, I saw that it was Black Love Day. Didn't know that was a thing, but we'll get to days of the year a bit later. But anyway, well, awesome Tuesday to you as well, Suzanne Ingham, who says awesome Tuesday, Jamal and Maya. Hope you are doing well. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone had a great start to their week yesterday. Okay, we'll give you a joke today. We'll give you a joke today. All right, Suzanne, she's asking, do we got a joke today? You know, after that comedy show, I told you all yesterday, I went to a comedy show on Friday night, and it was quite the thing. It was quite the thing. I have been privileged to witness so many comedians, funny people, live and in person. And Preacher Lawson, and as someone said, he was on America's Got Talent. I think the show was some years ago, but he was legit the funniest comedian I've ever seen. Had the audience laughing from start to finish. There were no breaks, no breaks, just nonstop funny. And I think what made it funny was the fact that so much of it was impromptu. Obviously, he had his sets, but he would just interrupt his set, and someone would be walking out. Seriously, you're leaving? I was about to tell my funniest joke. And like it was so much impromptu. Like he couldn't have planned it this many people. So all that to say, hopefully my joke of the day is get me to America's Got Talent so you all can vote for me so that I can start my comedy career as well. All right? Anyway, greetings everyone. And thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome the Privacy Commissioner, Alexander White, from the Office of the Privacy Commission. We're discussing the Personal Information Protection Act. Some people call it PIPA, some PIPA. Well, I was calling it PIPA. So we're going to be discussing that and what it means for Bermuda. The daily players are Remember When. So who's going to join Farah Palacio into this week's draw by guessing the correct answer to today's Remember When? All right. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right. Let's get into today's conversation, folks. So our good friends at the Bermuda Tourism Authority, they announced some numbers. I don't know if anyone saw that, but they announced some numbers. And I'll just bring something up, let you see this. So this is their executive summary for the full year of 2023. They said air visitors were 185,335, and then air capacity 432,824. Cruise passengers were 525,413, and total calls in port were 183. Now, you see the percentages up year over year, which again is expected after coming off pandemic years. But I want to, just read the statement from the Bermuda Tourism Authority. That 2023 was the first full year since 2019 without COVID-related travel restrictions, and significant increases were seen across key measures in 2023, including air capacity, hotel occupancy, and air and cruise arrivals. In 2023, total visitor arrivals, air, cruise, yacht increased 29.9% year over year. Air visitors grew by 27.1%. And cruise visitors grew by 30.5% compared to 2022. Leisure air visitors grew 21.9%, business air visitors grew 42.5%, and air visitors visiting friends and relatives grew 36.3%. One of the highlights of 2023 was the increase in air capacity, which grew by 21.6% year over year, with additional increases in capacity scheduled for 2024. 2023 also saw the introduction of Bermuda Air serving East Coast cities with additional routes confirmed for 2024. This is the part that I actually appreciate in this statement by the Bermuda Tourism Authority, and something that I've been saying for ages should be part of the conversation. They said challenges remain with hotel inventory, which remained flat in 2023 at approximately 75% of 2019 levels. However, in 2023, hotel occupancy increased by 15.5%. Additionally, the average daily rate experienced a 6% boost. The revenue per available room, RevPAR, increased 22.6% compared to 2022, also surpassing 2019. Now, audience, if you need me to break down any of that stuff, let me know. But here's the question regarding the BTA that I want to ask you. Based on what you've just seen on the screen and what I just read to you, here's the question. Do you consider the Bermuda Tourism Authority's 2023 numbers a success? That's your question right now. Yes or no? Do you consider the Bermuda Tourism Authority's 2023 numbers a success? Yes or no? Do you consider the Bermuda Tourism Authority's 2023 numbers a success? Friends on Instagram, you also can answer, but do you consider those numbers a success? The Bermuda Tourism Authority, I just read some of the numbers to you. Yes or no? Do you consider the Bermuda Tourism Authority's numbers a success? Yes or no? Yes or no? Feel free. The BTA is not going to beat you up, nor am I. It's just honest question. Do you consider those numbers that were just shared with you a success? Yes or no? And the bigger question, this one, is what can we do to build on the reported numbers from 2023? What can we do to build on the reported tourism numbers from 2023? So again, let us know. What do you consider the Bermuda Tourism Authority's 2023 numbers a success? What are your thoughts? Are those numbers, do they equate to success for you? Yes or no? And just give you some explanations. The average daily rate would be whether it's increased. So if hotels, the average daily rate in Bermuda is $200 a room last year, and then it's $250 a room this year, that means the average daily rate's up by $50. So that's what average daily rate means, just in case anyone doesn't know what the numbers mean. But let us know, audience. You're quiet on this one. Do you consider the Bermuda Tourism Authority's 2023 numbers a success? Yes or no? Are they a success to you? Do you consider them successful? Because I've got something to show you, but you've got to let me know whether you consider them successful or not. Do you feel it's a success? Do you see more tourists? Do you feel more tourists? Are you benefiting from more tourists? What are your thoughts? Let's check. See Instagram and see what. Nope, nobody on Instagram yet. Let's see. Yes or no? Do you consider the Bermuda Tourism Authority's 2023 numbers a success? Yes or no? We've got a no from WKD Llama. Is that Wicked Llama? Okay, I'm just going to say Wicked Llama. Wicked Llama says no. Don't consider those numbers a success. What are your thoughts? Do you consider the numbers just shared with you, the Bermuda Tourism Authority's numbers from 2023 a success? Do you consider those numbers a success? Yes or no? And what can we do to build on the reported numbers from 2023? We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago where we said, why can't the hotels go and try to turn those cruise visitors into hotel visitors? What can they do? What can we do to build on that, whether it's a success or not? What can we do? Monica Dunstan says, I'm just wondering if the increase is due to the BTA or other factors. Well, see, Monica, why you gotta go there today? I wasn't trying to be like that. Here's the thing with destination marketing organizations. The truth of the matter is, it's really hard to measure their actual impact. So let's use cruise ships, for instance, right? Cruise ships do their own marketing and advertising. If I'm not mistaken, the transport department really oversees the cruise ships, not the Bermuda Tourism Authority. Taking cruise ship visitors out of the equation, that would leave you with air visitors and hotels, right? Hotel bed nights. But if we're being fair to the Bermuda Tourism Authority, which we should be, right? I mean, we don't have to, but we should be. They are challenged. They are challenged because, again, if you take that many rooms that Fairmont Southampton had out of the inventory, percentage-wise, out of any destination, they would pretty much have a decline because you're taking the largest player in the game away. So I think they're challenged with that. But to answer your question, it's really hard to measure the impact of a destination marketing organization outside of groups. Groups, and I know they've done very well with groups as far as sports with Hazel Clark there. That's been something that we've seen the result of. So if you ask me, a layman, someone that's outside the organization, is the increase due to the BTA? I would say the sports is, having the track and field event and that marketing opportunity, that is due to the BTA. But if you ask me about leisure travelers and people just visiting Bermuda, outside of group travel, it's really, it's hard to measure. Like, ask your friends that have come to visit you or family or whoever in Bermuda, have they ever been surveyed or have they filled out a survey? It is hard to measure. But again, credit where it's due, they still have a job to market Bermuda. And while we may disagree about how they do that, we have found a bit of success in the sports. I want to bring something up as well, but Michael Daniel says, what are our goals for cruises and hotel stay? Well, that's in the National Tourism Plan. You can go find that on the BTA website, the National Tourism Plan, and you'll figure out what their goals are long term. But I want to share something else because I think this is a very important part of the conversation that I want everyone to really, and thank you, Maya, for doing this as well. So this is a side-by-side right here, right? Take your time. Take your time. And I want to thank those in the audience who continue to provide information to help the conversation as we have them. But this is Turks and Caicos Islands, the most comparative island, I think, for Bermuda. And this is Bermuda, right? So we're going to look at 2021 number of tourists, where obviously Bermuda was recovering, versus Turks and Caicos, right? But I think we should go back to, I think Bermuda's big year was 2007, 660,000, right? And then you look at Turks and Caicos. And then you look at 2017 and 2018 and 2019, right? And again, a lot of cruises in there for Bermuda. But as you look at Turks and Caicos 2013 to 2019, we must ask ourselves, how did they go from 265,000 in 2007, right? When Bermuda was at 660,000 to a million pretty much 2011 through 2019. And I mean, look at us. Now, some will say, well, we hit heights in 2019, again, majority of cruise visitors. But these are the comparisons that really tell the story right here. These are the things that we can learn from. We must ask ourselves, how, and keep in mind, 2021, Turks and Caicos had some very strict rules for COVID as well. Very, very strict rules. So we can't blame COVID, but what we can do is be honest. Bermuda lost for Mount Southampton. And any destination, I repeat, any destination that loses all of that inventory is going to struggle. But the other story that this tells me, if you look at this, folks, you know what other story this tells you? This also tells us that there's investment happening in Turks and Caicos. You don't go from 265,000 in 2007 to a million in less than a decade without investment. I think this gives us something to think about. So now that said, we've seen our numbers compared with Turks and Caicos, which tells a story about how Bermuda was once this great destination and how others have caught up, surpassed Bermuda, and leaving Bermuda in its wake. What can Bermuda do to build on 2023 as a tourist destination? This is our community meeting. Let us know. What can we do? What can we do, audience? It makes no sense sitting back and just, Bermuda tourism's this, Bermuda tourism's that. I mean, Twitter, you all get on, you're on fire about, you have all the answers to tourism issues. We sit around the water cooler and criticize it, but where are the ideas? What can we do to build on it? What can we do to get to the levels of Turks and Caicos? We disagree with the government's concessions for Mount Southampton. What are the alternatives to it? Do we need better people in the room to negotiate on Bermuda's half? We are getting left in the dust. Do we need to sell the land of Morgan's Point off to a Disney or a cruise line to get people to Bermuda? What is it? What's the sticking point? What is that thing that we need to do to catch back up? What do we need to do? And no, Bermuda doesn't have the benefit. We don't have the benefit of having multiple islands like the Turks and Caicos or the Bahamas. And it's a very mature destination, if we're honest. There's not much space to build new, right? So what can we do? Where are the solutions? Because I'll tell you what, the government nor the Bermuda Tourism Authority can do it alone. We need to figure out what we can do to build on this. Because while the BTA's reported numbers may be a feel good for the organization, we must ask ourselves, are they feel good for the people of Bermuda? Because one of my greatest concerns, and this is something that I've said for years when I was working in Bermuda tourism, my concern is that And we spoke about this yesterday with Ms. Roselda Severin about data and numbers, right? We're so stuck on providing data to show how relevant we are. But for me, data is human and it should reflect the human element. What do I mean by that? I mean that the only data that I care about when it comes to tourism is how are the lives of the locals being improved by this? And if more entrepreneurs are being created out of tourism, then that's a win for me. If more jobs that can help people pay their bills, not jobs, but jobs that can help people pay their bills, that pay them a decent salary or created from the efforts of our tourism, then that's a win. That's the data I care about. That's the data we should care about. Not this data that organizations put out to make themselves feel like they are doing something. So we need to figure out what we need to do, us, the general public, to help ourselves, because no government or Quengo can do it alone if you trust them to do anything at all to improve the lives of the Bermudian people. Let's go to the comments. Traveling Trotty states, I would suggest we improve our level of customer service as a start. Yeah. I mean, if you go somewhere and like it, well, excuse me, maybe not Traveling Trotty because she's got like 100 destinations to visit, but even if you never go back, you may suggest it to others, right? Customer service is important. Traveling Trotty says, as an island, we have lost our friendliness in many aspects. Well, you have to sell more than friendliness. There are so many different places with friendly people. What are you doing differently? Anthony Pete says, query if the islands like White's Island, Port's Islands are marketed for tourism experiences. That's a good question. I don't know what all the marketing efforts in the Bermuda Tourism Authority reflect today outside of getting people to Bermuda, but they have so many different fam trips and things that they do where they do have experiences. So I would have to get clarity. But I remember a few years ago, they were doing that concert like Pink Sand and the BTA on White's Island. But all right, folks, you've got to bring Maya Palacio in for the Daily Hour news break. But think on that. Think on that. I think that's an important conversation. Tourism is always an important conversation. I think we have some work to do. But I appreciate the transparency from the Bermuda Tourism Authority as it relates to the lack of inventory due to the Fairmont Southampton. Let's bring Maya Palacio in for the Daily Hour news break. And after that, we have Alexander White, the Privacy Commissioner. We're talking about the PIPA Act. You don't want to miss this conversation because it's about your personal information.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, MP. How are you?
I'm feeling great this morning. How about you?
I don't know. I mean, the audience they're tuned in, but they're scared to talk about tourism in Bermuda. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, let's be honest. It's so hard to talk about tourism in Bermuda. It's a conversation that's continuously ongoing until we see the spikes that I guess we are as Bermudians looking for. So it's an ongoing conversation for sure.
You know what? I think people are just tired. I think people are legit just tired of the talk, and they want to feel. They don't want to see the results. They want to feel the results. I think that's where we're at with it, probably.
I agree. I'm kind of curious about the update on whether or not we had that conversation on the show where it came to, I think it was the cruise ships on the dockyard and just some places not being opened at a good time for tourists that do come to the island to actually find out more information. I wonder if anything's been done by that.
Yeah, I wonder. What you got for us today?
Well, good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour News brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Starting out your news this morning, talking about the graduate program. So the graduate training program participants received their praise and certificates. The event recently held at Connect Tech marked the completion of the program. The individuals completing the program were Anna Lightbourne, Brandon Johnson, Kalisha Pyramid, Ayana Franklin Smith, Stage Ming, Shakila Ming, Tiana Mullen, Tanya Gift, and Kia Zaya Barchel Busby. So coming into this, there was actually a great presentation, and a lot of them received the certificates. But one in particular, Tiana Mullen, had a really interesting story. And here's a quick clip of it so you guys can see what they were talking about.
I went to the University of South Wales to study forensic investigations with hopes of becoming a crime scene investigator. Throughout my studies, I struggled to find scholarship, placements, and internships, and this continued once I graduated. It's extremely hard for recent graduates to come back to Bermuda and go straight into full-time employment, where places require a lot of practical experience that may not be offered by your course. Members within the forensic unit were aware of me and my qualifications and were eager to get me in, but unfortunately it wasn't up to them, so it just became a waiting game. After being selected for the program, it still wasn't easy, as I couldn't just get placed in there due to confidentiality. To my surprise, with the help from the workforce development and the members of staff within the FSU, they decided to take a chance with me and give me 10 weeks worth of experience, but couldn't ensure that I would be offered a full-time position at the end.
Interesting.
Yeah, a great story, truthfully, about just like how when she was in university, and like again, the pandemic kind of messed up the situation where they would get those hands-on experience. So she came home. That's something that most things people require, and she didn't have. So here's a response by Detective Agent Hayward as well, who was there at the presentation, who actually spoke on Mullen and got to work with her.
The majority of Tiana's cases thus far were fingerprinting, sterling cycles and stuff, and she actually got an ident, which means that she found someone's prints on the bike, and that possibly maybe a court appearance. I would have liked to have had her to do more other types of violent crimes, such as burglaries and thefts. More frequent application of these types of crime scenes would enhance her fingerprinting and photography experience even more. This investment in young Bermudians is not only a financial decision, but a commitment to developing a skilled, knowledgeable workforce capable of delivering quality forensic support service to our community. I'm hoping Tiana Mullen is given that full-time position.
Nice. I hope she is too.
Yeah, again, like she was doing some really amazing work. Again, it's a 10-week program. So while she was there, as you heard, like she actually was able to get prints off a stolen vehicle, and maybe that does become a court case. So like even just having her on hand, I guess we as the public can actually tell that made a difference just by having that one new person who actually studied for this and can finally actually work in her field, although it took quite long for it to get there.
Give that young lady some love, audience. Like that's what's up. I'm rooting for her.
Same. And also there was other graduates from university there as well who were taking these 10-week courses. So you could actually tell that it's valuable to them. A lot of them spoke about how it was very valuable for them because of the fact, again, they went to university, they got the skills, and they graduated from their programs, and they come home and there's nothing or no courses in place. So having this connection has helped majority of them who took part.
Nice.
Now, in other news and more police news, as we talked about them when the constable actually did come on to the show as well, and I got to speak to him. But the Bermuda Police Service is inviting applicants for the post of constable. Local residents who are looking for a career in law enforcement with the desire to represent the community and assist in making Bermuda safer are encouraged to apply. Applicants must be between the ages of 19 and 49 years of the start contract, be in good physical and mental health, and have a Bermuda school diploma or equivalent. Applicants from non-Bermuda resident work permit holders or other spouses who are permitted to seek employment in Bermuda may be considered as well. Now, the successful applicants must then pass also evaluations as well to be considered for the recruitment. There is a broad list of what those evaluations will be, and you can check that out by when you try to apply online. Now, applications must be submitted by February 21st, and they have to be submitted between governmentcareers.gov.bm, and they say no hard copies will be accepted.
I thought I wanted to be a cop when I got older, but they discriminated back then, Maya. They used to discriminate. They had a height requirement, and I wasn't tall enough. I think you had to be like, what are you laughing at, Maya?
I'm not
You laugh. I saw that, but I'm serious. Like they said, whatever the height used to be, audience, let us know. Is there still a height requirement for the Bermuda Police Service? Anyway, I'm too old now, but I hope they don't discriminate based on height anymore.
You're not too old.
Oh.
I said 19 to 49.
I'm too old, Maya.
Okay. Okay.
I ain't running after nobody.
Put it this way, I wasn't laughing at your height though, but the fact that they even have a height requirement just sounds silly to me.
Well, they had one. Audience, let us know if they still have that height requirement if you know, though. All right, sorry, Maya. Go ahead.
Meanwhile, in other news, United Airlines extends Newark to Bermuda service, and the Minister of Transport, the Honorable Wayne Farbert, is pleased to announce that United Airlines will extend their Newark Liberty International Airport to Bermuda for the seasonal service to 26th of October 2024, with the larger and newer 166-seat, the 737 MAX 8. This represents a 71% increase in the total days of scheduled flights from 123 days in 2019 to 210 days planned in 2024. United advised that there may be further extensions to their Bermuda schedule if there is travel demand and based on their operational capacity.
Well, that's good news, and I hope it works out. I hope that equates to more people. I just want Bermuda to, like, the people to succeed and benefit from tourism. I mean, we don't have much to smile about. This is why I'm so eager for Bermuda Air to succeed. So I hope it does well, this expansion.
Yeah, likewise. And like we said before, Bermuda Air also was like a really big part of actually getting more people to Bermuda. So things like that will help generate more tourism to our island.
Yeah.
Now, in other news, following up on the concerning of potholes and the stats that are going on all across the island, they say that the East End asphalt plant has reopened and progress on addressing potholes has really ramped up. So the minister, David Birch, says we are taking the necessary actions to improve the state of our roads, stating this week that one crew began work on North Shore Road, moving from East End asphalt location at Blue Hole westward towards Spanish Point. Concurrently, another team initiated repairs in South Road heading west for Hamilton Parish. The ministry spokesperson said, quote, the Collectors Hill area in Smith is in desperate need of paving and repair, but this is partially complex area due to the underlying queue loops for traffic lights. Minister Birch continued by saying that the crew will be deployed to several key locations to continue their work. One team will be working on the causeway. Another crew will initiate repairs on T Street and Middle Road in Devonshire, progressing toward Cavendish Road. Now, the public again is still encouraged to continue to report potholes via the line of potholes@gov.bm.
I'm not commenting on that potholes. Man, I just want us to do our thing. We know what it is. Now just be a bit more cautious on the roads. I don't think we should stress ourselves. We need to respond to it in a responsible way. How's that? Until we can get it to where it needs to be. Well, even if we do, let's hope this is a guide to how we should operate on our roads responsibly.
Understood. In some more community news, some things that you ought to know, the City of Hamilton is reminding members of the public that due to construction works at 91st Front Street by a private contractor, a temporary crosswalk has been created, which will assist pedestrians in crossing over to the southern side of Front Street. You see that on the left side there on the photo that there is one there. The city is advising pedestrians to exercise caution and stay alert when using the new crosswalk and urging motorists to be vigilant for pedestrians at this location. Now, in other news, as you see on the image there on the right, the city will be getting the remains of the rubber tree located outside of the Bermuda National Library there. So you're going to see a lot of vegetation being done and then cutting that up and taking it out.
All right. Thank you for that.
And closing in on our sports-related news, you may have heard this story, but according to the Rogue Gazette, Bermuda's preparations for the ICC Cricket World Cup Challenge League playoff were thrown into disarray when 6 players were not on the Thursday flight leaving the island. Captain Darby Rollins, Trey Manders, Chris Douglas, Alan Douglas Jr., Derek Bregman, and Zico Burgess were unable to secure visas to enter India for a pre-tournament training camp before proceeding to Malaysia. Bermuda Cricket Board Executive Director Cal Blinkendale blamed glitches on the Indian immigration website for the calamity. You can read the full story on the Gazette.
That's the most Bermudian story ever, but okay.
And closing out for your weather today, everyone. So it's going to be looking like a cloudy start with some brighter skies later on, and a few risks of a shower or two. The winds seem to be a little bit strong as well. Some gale force winds in the afternoon, so be mindful when you're on those vehicles as always. And we've got a high of 72 degrees out there today.
All right. Thank you, Maya. Gary Moreno, the communications manager for the police, says Inspector Midget Hartman. But he did say, on a serious note, though, the height requirement no longer exists. So I was right. There was a height requirement. See, I was too short. Yeah. I mean, Mind you, I grew to 6'2", so I would have been okay today.
Oh,
Pardon, Maya?
I was just, concur.
Oh, okay. Maya, we got some cool days of the year. So let me know what you want to choose. So it's World Radio Day. World Radio Day. It's Black Love Day. It's Pancake Day. It's Cheddar Day, like cheddar cheese. I don't know if I could say this one, but International Condom Day. It's Kiss Day, and it's Extraterrestrial Cultural Day.
I honestly love all of them. I kind of want to know what they all are about, but I will pick. I'll pick Black Love Day, and I mean, I'm all for safe sex and talk about sex education. So
Okay.
get to hear about Condom Day too.
Okay, so Black Love Day. Let's see what this is about. So, audience, Black Love Day was founded in 1993. The root of the spiritual holiday is connected with the honor and celebration of all things related to African and Black cultures. Black Love Day was founded by Ayo Handy Kendi, who was the creator of the African American Holiday Association. Handy Kendi came up with the inspiration for the day after watching a movie where a Black man was murdered by some other Black people. Just want to emphasize that. All right, so the aim of Black Love Day has 5 different spiritual tenets of loving acts, which includes practicing love toward the creator, the self, the family, within the Black community, and for the Black race. So, how to celebrate? Embrace the Akoma symbol. I have to, I guess, figure out what that is. And watch films by Black directors. Malcolm X, Selma. Support Black-owned businesses and attend the Black Love Virtual Summit. And what was the other one, Maya? You said International Condom Day. So let's read.
Valentine's Day's coming up, might as well.
International Condom Day. The idea of condoms has been around since the ancient history, with the first mentions in literature coming around 3000 BC. At the time, the story about King Minos went that a sort of condom made for the bladder of a goat was used to protect women he had sex with. The evolution of the condom or sheath went through different iterations, such as linen sheaths used by ancient Egyptians, or the animal intestines of or bladder used by ancient Romans. So, how to celebrate? Buy some new condoms or check the old ones. Visit the International Condom Day website, spread the word about International Condom Day, and get tested. Yeah. So, those are your days of the year, folks.
Awesome. Black Love Day.
Very helpful. All right, and I guess eat a pancake. What audience? It is Pancake Day. What's your favorite flavor of pancake, audience? Let us know. What's your favorite flavor of pancake, Maya?
I do love a blueberry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I love pumpkin pancakes. Pumpkin pancakes. During pumpkin season. All right. Let us know your favorite pancake. Maya, we'll see you soon.
See you soon. And don't forget to, if it's Black Love Day, you don't always have to watch the ones that are really like hard. Watch some soft Black love stories.
Not 12 Years a Slave or anything like that.
Yeah, let's just watch some soft stuff. Everyone deserves soft love.
Yeah. Watch soul food or something. All right. Check you later, Maya.
Bye.
All right, Maya Palacio there, folks. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back. We've got a very important conversation with the Privacy Commissioner, Alexander White. You don't want to miss this. Make sure you give us a love. Make sure you share the conversation. Your personal information. You need to know what that is. Before we go to break, Farah Palacio, her favorite pancake is blueberry. We've got strawberry from Wicked Llama. Pumpkin. We're going to breakfast, Sherilyn Johnson. We're pumpkin. We're here. We've got pumpkin again, Suzanne Ingham. Let's make plans. Now, I love making them for my grands, too. Yeah, you can invite them, too. We're having breakfast, folks. Have my pumpkin pancakes on order. All right, let's take a quick break. Come back with our guest for the day.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Please don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Without further ado, let's give a warm TDH welcome to our guest for the day. We've got the Privacy Commissioner, Alexander White. Greetings. How are you?
Thank you, Jamal. I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm good. But I'm gonna ask you. What's your favorite flavor of pancake?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, so I'd have an answer ready. I suspected you might. So I'm kind of vanilla, and so I'd go with like a plain or a vanilla flavor, but you got to have real maple syrup. That's the trick.
Real maple syrup.
Yeah.
There you go, folks. Real maple syrup. I'm gonna be honest. I love pumpkin. Everything. So being in the Northeast during like the fall time, that's how I got into it. So anything pumpkin and putting that syrup on it. I don't know about you, but it's got to be drenched in syrup. But no, first off, thank you for doing this. Thanks for coming on. I think this is one of the most important things happening in Bermuda that many people don't know about. I've read so many articles as I prepare for each show. I go through stuff, and I must say there's so much information about this that no one should have an excuse not to know about this act. So, but before we get into it, just let the audience know, those who may not know, tell us a bit about your background and your role at the Office of the Privacy Commissioner.
Yeah, happy to do that. And like a lot of people, I come from an insurance background here in Bermuda, and my accent may give me away, but I'm not Bermudian. I'm from the U.S. originally. And so I worked as a lawyer in the insurance industry and worked on cyber liability. So that was the kind of insurance you would get if you had a data breach. And I just thought that was absolutely fascinating. And that's what led me to cybersecurity and to data privacy specifically. So very lucky to get to work in government in the US, building privacy programs and advising Homeland Security on cybersecurity issues. And just with the insurance connections, I leapt at the opportunity to come to Bermuda. So very, very excited to help the community through this transition.
Indeed. And for those who don't know, what is the Personal Information Protection Act?
Yeah, and so I say PIPA, but I know some people say it differently. And my go-to joke is that I don't have the authority to regulate pronunciation, and so you're on your own for however you want to say it. But essentially, what PIPA does is it creates rights for individuals. The right to be able to access information that any organization has about them, and the ability to correct it if it's wrong, or in some cases, even request it be erased if it's no longer needed. So that's one of the biggest aspects of PIPA is it creates those rights. In addition to that, it puts an obligation on organizations to evaluate the risks that are being faced. So what's the harm that could happen, that could fall on an individual if personal information was misused, and then put appropriate controls in place to prevent those harms.
When I think of personal information, being in the US, I'm based in South Florida, I always just think medical records, right? But what kind of, what is considered personal information?
Yeah, so PIPA takes the kind of European style of regulation, which casts the net very broadly. So that the definition for personal information is any information that is related to an individual, that is about an individual, then that could be considered personal information. And that may sound very difficult and very broad, but the point of that is to try to encompass all the many different types of uses of personal information. So medical information is a great example of personal information. Certainly details about our blood type or our medical history or things like that, but also financial details. That could be something that comes into play. And increasingly decisions are being made based on financial profiles that organizations may have about us. So those sorts of profiles are types of personal information. One you hear a lot is online. So, when you go to a website and they have cookies, you'll see the little pop-up, or they have a privacy notice about how they're using your personal information. A lot of times advertising is developed using personal information profiles. So there's a really wide variety of uses that we're considering.
So I know a lot of companies do things where they collect people's email addresses to be certain things. Where would that fall under this if they collect your email addresses and they use them to email you and send you like marketing stuff? How does that impact things like that, promotions?
Yeah, so I want to emphasize that PIPA does not say that you can't do that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
It's all about trying to do it in the right way. And so PIPA specifically says in the Act that sometimes organizations have legitimate purposes for using personal information. And so there has to be some sort of framework around, well, what sorts of rights and obligations should there be? So that example you were just talking about a mailing list. Yeah, it's perfectly legitimate for an organization to send out mailers or to advertise to people. However, where's the line for when it's too much? If you're getting an email every 60 seconds from an organization, then I think we could all agree that's probably too much emailing. And so the individual should have the right to say, okay, you can no longer use my personal information to email me every minute of the day. And so PIPA and similar laws are all about saying, okay, well, where do those lines fall when it comes to rights and responsibilities?
Gotcha. And audience, I don't want to hog Mr. White. So if you have any questions or comments, please send them through. This is honestly a conversation that the entire island needs to be a part of to understand this as we head towards this legislation, which I believe takes effect January 1st, 2025, I believe.
That's right. We'll be watching the onion drop and getting ready for PIPA.
There you go. So you just explained, what it is and, what's considered personal information. Why is this act necessary for Bermuda?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. And to start out kind of philosophically, we saw in the 20th century that there were a lot of instances where personal information was misused. We saw horrible things being done by governments in the Nazi government in Europe or communist governments or things like that. All of that was about using personal information essentially to target people or to silence people. And then as the century went on, we found that more and more private organizations, were using personal information because they're getting involved in our lives. I mean, even now, right now with this conversation, we're talking, we have a device that we're talking on, we're using a web platform, we have an internet service provider. So we have all of these third-party intermediaries that are getting involved in what maybe would have been a one-on-one conversation otherwise. And so the question becomes, well, what sort of obligations do those intermediaries have? As from a consumer protection perspective, from a human rights perspective, how do we decide what's appropriate and what's not appropriate? And so that's the kind of philosophical aspect of why this is important. But there's also really tangible economic reasons. And one is that these laws exist pretty much everywhere in the world. So most jurisdictions have laws like this. In fact, we just had what's called the Global Privacy Assembly. So all the privacy commissioners of the entire world were here in Bermuda last October. And so we have representatives from, over 100 countries here on the island and more virtually. And so because of that ever-present aspect of this law, it's really an expectation for other businesses. They, if they're transferring data to do business with a Bermudian company, they're expecting that company to have certain compliance standards in place for how they're going to protect the information or ensure they only use it for particular purposes. So there's that aspect of things for doing business internationally. But I would argue, too, that privacy just makes good business sense. And so one thing we like to say at our office is that privacy means business, because when you talk about data, what we need to do is shift the thinking of data so that it's truly considered a business asset. So that email list you were just talking about of who you're going to be advertising to, that's an asset. That's something that has a tremendous amount of value to an organization. And so it should be treated like an asset, the same way you would, if you had some gold coins, you wouldn't just throw them around. You would want to keep them someplace safe. And so we should think about personal information in a similar way. And that helps a business be more efficient and to do things more effectively.
Indeed. And audience, if you have any questions, again, comments, please send them through. Another important conversation. So how will it work? Because I know we have the Information Commissioner's Office, and a lot of people get confused between the two already. Yeah. With your office, will you have officers? How will we ensure that companies are compliant? How will companies know if they're compliant? How will they be handled if non-compliant? Like what does this process look like for Bermuda?
Yeah, so we do have officers here. We have a 14-person staff that are hard at work developing the kind of guidance standards and investigation processes. So we'll be ready on our side in January, and so part of that is developing the instruction manual for organizations. I think it's really important to make it so that this is accessible for every organization. So it's not just the big organizations that have big compliance departments that can actually do some of these things. We need to make sure everybody can do it. So our office put together what's called the Road to PIPA program. And we just kicked that off last week. So now is the perfect time for people to jump on board. If you go to our website, privacy.bm, and you can see a little Road to PIPA tab. And what we're going to do is every week, we're going to give specific guidance about what to do this week, to try to break it down into bite-sized chunks. So someone could simply follow along with us throughout 2024 in order to help get ready for 2025. So that's the one thing I would certainly suggest is to take a look at that. But ultimately, the way it will work is that it's an interaction between individuals and organizations. So we don't want to get in the middle of everything. So if an individual comes to us and says, I don't think my privacy rights are being effectively done by this organization, the first question we're going to ask is, well, have you talked to the organization about that? And so individuals have the ability and the right to go to an organization and say, I want to understand more about what information you have, how you're using it, who you're sharing it with, those types of questions. And only if they needed us to review whether that right was being effectively done would we jump in.
Got it. And folks, I've been on their website. It's a lot of information. And I would encourage you just to take some time and just read it, go over it, and ensure that you have an understanding of what this means for you. So just make some time. We do have a question from the audience. Amari Simon's asking, what does PIPA say about disclosing data breaches?
Yeah, I'll get to that, but I wanted to add to something you were saying, Jamel, which is that we also understand that sometimes it could be the case that there's an overwhelming amount of information on the website because there is a lot there, and we want to make sure there are resources available for people. And that's where the Road to PIPA comes in handy, because then we're just saying, just focus on this one thing this week, and it kind of will walk you through it yourself. So I encourage everyone to take a look at that. But as for reporting data breaches, so what PIPA says is that if there is what's called a breach of security, so if the personal information has been lost or misplaced, or you have evidence that someone has accessed it, then the organization has an obligation to assess whether there is a risk of harm to an individual. And if they do assess there to be a risk of harm, they are required to notify my office. And then we engage with them and advise them on the next steps they may need to take in course of the data breach, which could include notifying individuals as well.
Gotcha. And as you mentioned, the website and the like, just tell people, I mean, you're going to be doing weekly things. I'd like to talk after this show so that we can be a part of that, making sure that our audience is up to date with the weekly messaging as well. But what can people do to learn more about the Personal Information Protection Act between now and January 1, 2025?
I'm sorry, the first part of that sentence cut out for me.
Sorry, no problem. What can people do if they were interested in learning more about the Personal Information Protection Act before January 1st, 2025? What can they do? Where can they go for easy access and maybe bullet pointed information?
Yeah, the number one thing I would say is go to privacy.bm, and among the resources there that you may find useful, there's the Road to PIPA, which again is broken down every week to here's an activity, here's a template for you this week, here's some reading materials for more information, and here's our event for the week. So it kind of lays it out that way to make it a little easier for folks. But we also have a comprehensive guide to PIPA that if my memory is right, if you were to print out the whole thing, it would be 70 pages long. So there's a lot of resources there that people could take a look at. So that's what I would say is to check out the website privacy.bm. We also have what we call privacy and PIPA training on our website. So this is about a 45-minute training that you can watch as part of an online course, so to speak. So if you were an organization that needed to do privacy awareness training for individuals, you could use that video as your privacy awareness training. So we want to try to provide those resources for the community so you're not having to reinvent the wheel.
Alrighty. Got you. I like that concept of the training video. We've got another question. Sean Smith says, will businesses have to ask users for opt-in consent like in Europe?
So it depends. And I want to emphasize that PIPA here in Bermuda is not exactly the same as the compliance requirements in Europe. So what PIPA does is it speaks to a more high level obligation for organizations to assess the risk of harm that involves personal information and then try to mitigate those risks. The European laws will tend to get much more specific about you must do this and you must do it in this way, whereas PIPA simply says, you must do it in a way that's sufficient, that's reasonable, that sort of thing. So it may or may not be the case that a Bermudian organization will need to do it exactly the same as they might for a European. But essentially, there's something called the conditions of use, and this is something that we'll go into a lot in the privacy and PIPA training, so you can and our guide to PIPA as well. But when an organization is using personal information, they have to identify what's their legal reason for using the personal information. And so while PIPA has a lot of these kind of broad mandates in terms of evaluating risk and controls, it is kind of a tick the box exercise for that purpose, in that you have to select one of these legal mandates. And so it could be something like, well, we have a contract that we need to fulfill, and in order to do that, we need access to this personal information. Or it could be that we have a legal obligation, a legal requirement that says we must collect this and share it with the authorities, or what have you. So there are certain things that you have to select. Consent is one of those things that you could say, well, we have the consent of the individual, so that's our legal reason for having the personal information. What I would caution is that consent can be withdrawn as well. So while from the North American perspective, we think, okay, we'll just get the person's consent and then everybody's on the same page and we're done. But PIPA takes a bit more of the European interpretation of things like consent. So if someone withdrew their consent, the organization would need to respond and say, okay, we'll delete the information then.
Gotcha. And I don't want to get into the political side of this, but Silas Lynch says, if the government made this law, then shouldn't the government be more open about the hacking, considering they'll be guided by law to tell us, the people it impacted? Well, I don't want to get into that political side, but I guess the question is the second part, or does it only impact businesses? Does this impact businesses, government quangos? Who does it oversee?
Yeah, so this applies to all organizations that are in Bermuda. So this could be private organizations, government, quangos, the third sector. So any organization in Bermuda that uses personal information. There are some exceptions and exclusions for different types of information and different purposes, but as a general rule, it applies to all organizations. And so it would be better for me not to comment on the breach aspect of that question, because I wasn't involved directly in the government efforts. But what I can say is that that's something that would be different come January 2025, is that if an organization had a breach and they determined that there was access to personal information or potential misuse of personal information, they would have to notify my office, and then we could instruct them on how they might need to proceed.
Yeah, I appreciate this. I do have one concern. I think my concern is smaller businesses understanding what this means for them, if I'm honest. And I'm sure your team has a way that they're planning to address this. But I mean, that would be my only concern, the smaller businesses. Yeah. I don't even like, I don't know how to express it, but my hope is that, I know, so there was a time some years ago, about 15 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, where the government implemented something where, all people in trades had to get some certification from Bermuda College, if I'm not mistaken. And you had people who had been plumbers for years. Why do I have to get a certification? I've been doing this for years. That's my concern. Like, I love Bermudians. I love the people, but I think sometimes we could be resistant to change. And I just hope people understand that things like this are in our best interest and help us all. So this has been a great conversation, helpful. I definitely want to engage with your office a bit more to ensure that we can address these concerns. So I'll be reaching out to you, but before you head out, just remind the people, is it privacy.bn, PIPA.bn?
Thanks, Jamel. And we're happy to keep the conversation going. And I would especially say that, we need to hear from people. We need to hear from small organizations about what's difficult. And because then our office can work with them and develop templates and develop ways to try to make this a bit easier. This should not be something that only the big organizations can do. So with that said, privacy.bm is our website. And we'd love for folks to reach out. There's contact us forms that you can ask further questions, and that's what we're here to do.
Alexander White, thank you so much, sir, the Privacy Commissioner. We'll be in touch.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Problem. Thanks for coming. Have a great day. All right, folks, if you appreciated that conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Silas Lynch just says, I agree, because of their limited resources, small businesses may choose not to take this on as a priority. I hope that's not the case, but that does concern me a bit. But thanks again, folks. If you found that conversation helpful, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues, especially those small business owners. We're going to take a final break, come back. Someone is going to win the opportunity to be eligible to win a prize. So don't go anywhere, and we'll wrap it up after this break. Stick with us.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Let's kick it off in the footwear department. When it comes to footwear, we carry functional, comfortable, orthopedic, and waterproof shoes. We have construction shoes, golf shoes, shoes for walking, shoes for boating. We even have shoes for pickleball. We have shoes for everyone. With brands by Skechers, Atrax, Propay, Easy Street, Nursemates, Clogs, Avenger, Cherokee, Cat, Frog Talks, and DeWalt. The list goes on. Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Pair with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can't be stylish and comfortable at the same time? Speaking of stylish, we also have top-quality running, walking, and workout apparel by Skechers in a variety of sizes for men and women. Cool, breathable, and dry. With our wide selection of Skechers footwear, you'll look great before, during, and after your workout. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
You'll be surprised at everything we have to offer at our huge new retail and wholesale location on Bakery Lane.
All right. Thanks again to the Privacy Commissioner, Alexander White, for stopping by for a very important conversation today. Thanks again to the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can have these conversations with you on a daily basis. Please, please, please give us a like, a love, and make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. It is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, it is all on you. Who's going to join Farrah Palacio in the draw this week? Here's the question. Which city is known as the birthplace of hip hop? Be more specific. Which city? There we go. Someone got it. The first person that got it exact. You said New York, NTS. You said NYC, Stacey Ann Brown. But Mark Arthur C. Phillips actually said it first. Renee second said Bronx, New York City. Well, of course, Mark wants to go ahead and give an address too. But Mark Arthur C. Phillips, you will be entered into the draw. But it was the Bronx, New York. Now, some of you may say, well, you said city, Jamal, not borough. Well, if I would have said borough, you would have definitely been in. But hip hop was the birthplace of hip hop is credited as being the Bronx, New York City. All right, congratulations. Mark Arthur C. Phillips joins Farrah Palacio in this week's draw for the well, it'll be Thursday this week, Thursday giveaway, because there's no show on Friday. I just want to say, as far as tourism goes, you know, to wrap this up, Bermudians have to realize that no one's coming to save us. We have to take things into our own hands and, you know, do like others, create opportunities for ourselves. You know, we can't rely on government or the BTA to do it all for us. You know, I have little faith in organizations to do every or anything for me at all. So I think the message for today is figure out what you can offer in that space that can benefit you and your community. As far as the PIPA Act, I think all of us should be well read up on it, whether you own a business or not, just to exist, to know what your personal information means and what people can and can't do with it. I think this is an important act that not enough of us are paying attention to. So go read up on their website, give them a call, send them an email to see how it impacts you personally and or individually, and how it impacts our community overall. All right, it's time for the daily inspiration. Here's your daily inspiration for the day. Quote, "The only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them in the impossible." End quote. Again, the only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them into the impossible. And that's Arthur C. Clarke. All right, folks, do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we can do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. I am is out. Peace.